They say some love stories are written in the stars. Others, in scandal. This one began with a spark at a polo match and ended with a queen on the throne. But not before it burned bridges, shattered hearts, and changed the face of the British monarchy forever. Before Diana, before the tears, before the funeral attended by thousands, watched by millions and mourned by billions, there was just a boy and a girl. It began in the early 1970s. Prince Charles, the heir to the British throne, met Camilla Shand at a polo match in Windsor Great Park. She was confident, witty, and unlike the women typically paraded before him. They shared a love for horses, the countryside, and the same dry humor. They clicked immediately, and for a moment it looked like the future king had found his queen. But fairy tales don't start like this, and they definitely don't end well when the palace has other plans. Charles was deeply invested in his naval career and not yet ready for marriage. Camilla, on the other hand, was already in an on-and-off relationship with Andrew Parker Bowles, a British Army officer and notorious ladies' man. By 1973, while Charles was overseas, Camilla married Andrew. And just like that, what could have been a royal love story became a royal regret. While this would be the end for most love stories, but for C&C it wasn't. Despite Camilla's marriage and Charles's many romantic flings, including some with Camilla's own friends, the connection between them never truly ended. They remained close, though publicly as just friends. Even Charles's great uncle, Lord Mountbatten, warned him, "Marry someone innocent, someone with a spotless reputation." Camilla, who was already married, did not fit the royal mold. By the late 1970s, the pressure on Charles to marry was building. He was in his 30s, and the public demanded a future queen. Just like that, the world met Lady Diana Spencer, a shy 19-year-old nursery assistant who seemed to embody everything the palace wanted. In February 1981, Charles proposed after just 13 meetings, and of course, Diana said yes. On paper, this was the perfect royal pair. But even in those early days, the shadow of Camilla loomed. Diana would say in later interviews, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." But she didn't know that before the ring had slipped on her finger, Charles had gifted a bracelet to another woman, Camilla. On July 29, 1981, a fairy tale unfolded at St. Paul's Cathedral. 75 countries broadcast the royal wedding, and 750 million people from around the world watched in rapt attention as Diana walked the aisle, looking no less than a wide-eyed Disney princess. But behind closed doors, Diana had already found a photograph of Camilla in Charles's diary. The writing was on the wall, and it was dipped in the ink of betrayal. Diana knew, and soon the world would come to know too. Throughout the 1980s, Charles and Diana tried to make their marriage work. They had 2 sons, William and Harry, and fleeting moments of affection. But the cracks only deepened. Charles resumed his affair with Camilla around 1986. Diana confronted Camilla directly, famously saying, "I know what's going on. Don't treat me like I'm stupid." Camilla reportedly replied, "You've got everything you ever wanted. All the men in the world fall in love with you, and you've got 2 beautiful children. What more do you want?" Diana's answer was heartbreaking. "I want my husband." By the early 1990s, the illusion was crumbling. But no one had any idea about the storm that the coming years would bring. Charles and Diana's marriage crumbled. Phone calls were tapped, and Camilla Gates shocked the world. In one recording, Charles told Camilla he wanted to live inside her trousers and joked about being her tampon. Camilla was vilified, and opinion turned brutal. Diana, the wounded princess, became the people's queen. Camilla, the homewrecker. In 1992, Andrew Morton's explosive biography, Diana, Her True Story, revealed everything that Diana had been enduring, including her struggles with mental health and her belief that Charles never loved her. In 1994, Charles gave a televised interview admitting to adultery, irreparably shattering the image of the noble prince, which the monarchy had tried hard to build. Camilla, still married to Andrew, faced relentless public scrutiny. Her marriage soon ended in divorce in 1995. A year later, in 1996, Prime Minister John Major announced Charles and Diana's separation. But the damage was done. Charles's image was in tatters. Camilla's name was mud. And Diana? She was finally free. But sadly, not for long. 1997 was the year everything changed. On August 31st, Diana died in a car crash in Paris while fleeing paparazzi, and the world mourned the loss of the people's princess. Britain wept for Diana's adolescent boys, and flowers piled outside Kensington Palace in mountains. Many didn't just mourn Diana, they pointed fingers. At the press, at the palace, at Charles, and yes, at Camilla. Camilla wasn't just the other woman anymore. She was the enemy. The idea of her ever becoming queen was laughable, if not blasphemous. But not to Charles, because Charles did not let go. Quietly, carefully, he began rehabilitating Camilla's image. She stayed out of the spotlight for years. Slowly, through calculated public appearances, charity work, and strategic interviews, Camilla transformed in the public eye, from mistress to companion to, eventually, an accepted partner. In 2005, after years of speculation, Charles and Camilla married in a quiet civil ceremony at Windsor Guildhall. Queen Elizabeth II did not attend the ceremony, but did host a reception afterward, like a subtle gesture of reluctant approval. Camilla became the Duchess of Cornwall, not Princess of Wales. That title remained too closely tied to Diana in the public's heart. At the time of the wedding, the palace announced that Camilla would not become queen consort when Charles ascended the throne. She would be known as Princess Consort, out of respect for Diana's memory and the people's feelings. Over the years, Camilla continued to work quietly. She supported causes related to domestic violence, literacy, and osteoporosis. She avoided flashy headlines and stayed loyal. Charles never wavered. His devotion to her became the new royal love story. Not the fairy tale kind, but the enduring, controversial, defiant kind. Then in 2022, Queen Elizabeth II made a stunning declaration during her Platinum Jubilee. It was her sincere wish that Camilla be known as Queen Consort when Charles took the throne. A door once bolted shut was opened by the Queen herself. Months later, on September 8, 2022, the Queen died. Charles became king, and Camilla, once called the most hated woman in Britain, became queen. As of 8th of April 2025, King Charles III and Queen Camilla have now celebrated 20 years of marriage. 20 years of rebuilding, rebranding, and resilience, but their story is still haunted by the past. Because love stories don't exist in a vacuum, and this one left collateral damage. It tore apart a young woman's dreams, disillusioned a nation, rewrote royal tradition, and it forced the world to ask hard questions about forgiveness, loyalty, and the price of happiness. Would Diana have eventually found peace? Would Charles have married Camilla sooner if the palace hadn't interfered? Or did their love only survive because it had something to rebel against? We may never know. What we do know that it is definitely a love story, but not the kind sung by bards or fairy tales. This is the kind of love story that leaves behind scars,